Hi, this is Parker Couch with Homestar Financial, and I'm here today to talk about steps to getting a mortgage. If you're buying a home or doing a refinance of your existing mortgage, you may be wondering, how does this whole mortgage process actually work? Knowing where you are in the process and what the next steps are can be so incredibly helpful. So let's begin with step number one, which is submitting an application. Step one, when you submit an application, you can complete that entire mortgage application usually online, but can also do it in person or over the phone. Now, once you've submitted an application, I will contact you to ask some additional questions. But the next step is to see how much you actually qualify for, which takes us to step number two, which is qualification. Buying a home. And if you're buying a home, listen, we can provide you a pre-qualification or a pre-approval letter so that you know exactly how much money you can borrow. So you can go out and, go find a home. Now, when you're refinancing a home, though, that's when you are replacing your existing mortgage, and you might want to just simply want to change the terms of your loan to a lower rate, or maybe get a fixed rate mortgage if you're currently in an adjustable rate mortgage, otherwise known as an ARM. We'll have another video about ARM. But you may also want to take money out, which is called a cash out refinance mortgage. Whatever you want to do, though, you're going to need to know how much that you actually qualify for. Whether you are buying or you're refinancing, we're going to ask you some initial questions like, how much do you make? How much do you have in your savings? How much do you owe on your credit cards, cars, etc.? And this is going to help us find what programs are available for you and how much that you may actually qualify for. And this brings us to the next step, which is submitting your documentation. Step three, documentation. So you'll begin by sending in all of your documentation. Now, this is the information that we will need to qualify you for your loan. Now, I'll tell you exactly what we need, and I'll make it incredibly simple for you to send it in. And once that we've given the initial information, I'll be able to send you out paperwork, and that's called disclosures, which is, you guessed it, our next step. Step four, disclosures. You will receive a set of disclosures or documents, and these are called the loan estimate, and then that will include all of the costs of the loan. The loan estimate is going to be a 3-page disclosure that details the costs associated with the mortgage loan. There are other disclosures that are required by law to be sent, but not a lot of people read them because they're required. But it is important, though. You should review all of the disclosures. So if you have any questions, you can just let me know. But more importantly, you're not agreeing to the terms of disclosures. You're just signing to say, hey, I got it. So step 5, intent to proceed. So you've read the disclosures, you understand this is usually going to be completed electronically, which means that you are ready to move ahead in the process to the next step, which is ordering the appraisal. We're already on step 6, ordering the appraisal. Once you electronically sign the initial paperwork, your home appraisal will be ordered. Now, there are some loan types that allow for an appraisal waiver, and if you are fortunate enough to receive this appraisal waiver, then we will not need to order an actual appraiser. The first step in getting your appraisal will be setting the appointment for the appraiser to come and inspect your home. The appraiser will call you to set a time that is convenient to you so that they can inspect your home. And if you're buying a home, your agent will be contacted to set up the actual appointment with the appraiser. And once your appraisal is ordered, your loan file will then move on to the next stage, which is gathering and reviewing any missing documentation. Step 7, processing. You may work with the processor who will be handling your loan file, and the processor will review the documentation you have submitted to ensure that the file is actually complete. The processor's job is to be like a liaison between you, the loan originator, and the underwriter assigned to the loan file. And the processor looks for proper calculations to ensure the debt to income ratio, DTI, on the loan is accurate, and also orders like flood certifications, mortgage payoffs, and various other documents. Now, step 8, dun dun dun, underwriting. Once the processor has received all documentation necessary to support the information in a loan file, that's when they're going to submit the loan to the underwriter for final approval. Now, in most cases, after underwriting, an initial approval or something called like a conditional approval will be issued. This means that the file is approved, but the approval is subject to certain conditions. we're going to let you know if there's anything else that we need from you with these conditions. Time, though, is of the utmost importance during this step. So if we contact you for additional information, we really need you to respond in a timely manner so that your loan file keeps moving along and gets, well, that wonderful clear to close. And it is the underwriter's responsibility to ensure that every loan meets the lender, the investor's required guidelines. See, the underwriter reviews the validity of the appraised value. They then calculate the income used for the loan, and then they run various loan fraud checks. And if questions arise during this review, the underwriter will request follow-up documentation, and that will be as needed. So with the communication piece during underwriting in a purchase transaction, there's so many different parts that are coming together at the same time for the file to proceed to a smooth close. You got sellers, buyers, real estate agents, and title companies or attorneys. They've all got tasks, they've all got responsibilities that must be coordinated. And it is so important to us to remain in close contact with all involved parties and to make sure that each of these parties are aware of any potential pitfalls or delays that may arise. So let's go to step number 9. Closing. Once the file has been given the clear to close by the underwriting department, it's going to move to the closing department. A lot of departments in the mortgage world. Now, in a refinance transaction, closing is scheduled with you, the borrower, and will inform the title company or the attorneys exactly like what's been requested, the time and the date of closing, all of that. But in a purchase transaction, the closing date is negotiated between the buyer and the seller of the property, and that date is included in the sales contract. Now, once the title company receives closing instructions, we will work with that title company or an attorney's office to prepare the closing disclosure. The closing disclosure, it has to be received by the borrowers at least 3 business days prior to the consummation or signing. And this is typically when you sign all of your final closing documents, and it's important that you acknowledge that you received the closing disclosure immediately. And that's when we'll work with you and we'll let you know when to expect your closing disclosure, as well as how to acknowledge that closing disclosure. This is so important because there is this critical 3-day waiting period between the time you actually acknowledge receiving the closing disclosure and the time that you can legally sign and close on your home loan. And last but not least, step 10, funding. Yay, money. Like when the loan documents have been signed by the borrowers and the 3-day rescission period has passed, and that's for like your primary residence refinance transactions only, that's when loan funds are dispersed. Prior to funding, though, we'll review the signed documents and ensure that any prior to funding conditions have been cleared on the loan file. There are certainly several steps in the home loan process, but here's the great news. Is that our team is here to help you throughout this entire 10-step process. Thank you so much for watching. This is Parker Couch with Homestar Financial. You can connect with me at parker.couch@homestarfc.com, which is listed below, as well as call me or text me at area code 770-540-4936. Thank you for watching.